Anna has spent approximately 9 years working in maintenance and reliability at DuPont to Honeywell, from the nuclear industry, sugar industry, plastics, chemical processing, all the way to the oil and gas industry. Anna is a mechanical engineer by training and is currently a reliability engineer at ARMS Reliability. Anna, warm welcome to the show. I'm super excited to be chatting with you.
Thank you.
Of course. So to kick things off, what I always love to do is I would love to learn more about your story, your background, and how you got started in this interesting little industry and niche.
Okay. I started out in the Midwest. So I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and that's where I went to college. And then right out of school, pretty much, I ended up getting a job at a nuclear facility owned by Honeywell. And within that, there was a lot of politics to start out, especially for a first job, right? Being nuclear and being, regulated by not only OSHA, but the NRC, there was a lot to learn. And when I started with them, they were actually on a lockout with their union. So what the deal was that they had about a group of 20 of us engineers come in at once around the time of this lockout. And we were helping contractors run the facility until the union members came back. And once they came back, we helped re-qualify them and then transitioned into process engineering roles. So there was a lot of hands-on learning, a lot of process learning in that whole adventure. And what was even more interesting about it is it wasn't your typical, what you would think of as a nuclear plant. It made the fuel for the power plants. So we actually converted UF4 into UF6 by adding fluorine to it and cylinderized it and then shipped it to the nuclear power plants for them to do their thing.
Wow.
So that was kind of my first role. And then after a fashion, because it was an older facility, it was started in like the 1950s. The NRC came in after Fukushima happened and did an audit on the place. And because it was in Illinois on a fault line and so old, they said you have to do a lot of structural updates. And as a result of those structural updates cost, they laid off about 60% of their task force. And a lot of that was these new engineers that they hired in the group, and myself included. And so from there, you go the job hunt and you see what you can find. And I ended up landing a gig with DuPont. It was actually a DuPont acquisition. They had bought a Danisco sugar plant in Thompson, Illinois. And I ended up being what DuPont called a mechanical integrity quality assurance engineer. And what that meant for that plant, because it was an acquisition, is I was starting a lot of the mechanical integrity program from the ground up. And I was also working a lot with maintenance, with the mechanics and technicians, trying to figure out how to incorporate their legacy knowledge into this corporate mandate to follow DuPont policies and procedures, right? Kind of find a happy, good place for everybody to work together and for all that to work together nicely. I learned a lot there. There's a whole lot to learn. I had quite a few mentors on the site, as well as, senior DuPont engineers that wanted to see that site become successful. And after a while, though, I got sick of the cold, to be honest with you. So I asked to be transferred. And so they transferred me to the Orange facility, the Orange DuPont facility. And they're on Chemical Row. I don't know if you're familiar. And it's this long street of just plant after plant after plant. And DuPont happened to be one of them. And what they made there were a lot of copolymers. So I was in a plastics facility. And within that job, I transferred from the MIQA world to a reliability engineer. But because the facility there was so much bigger and they had so much better resources, I was able to expand my knowledge of their programs into their application, learn more about what a good condition-based monitoring, schedule and route look like. I was able to achieve a couple of certifications in thermography and lubrication and vibration and that kind of thing. And I learned a whole lot from the technicians there as well about not only those sciences, but how to apply them. And then they also had their own lab, which I thought was the best about that facility. They had their own lab where they did failure analysis in that lab. So if a hose failed or a valve failed or gears or whatever it was, they took basically the carnage and they took it to the lab and they dissected it and they figured out whether it was the metal or lubrication or something else going on with it, and so that was fascinating. After about 2 years there, I decided to come closer to a big city. So I started looking for jobs near Houston, and I ended up at a Taiwanese-owned place called LCY Elastomers, where basically they were making rubberized copolymers. And there, my title was maintenance engineer, but my role was reliability, mechanical integrity, small capital project, jack of all trades, right? I was the
Yeah.
only mechanical engineer on the site, and they pretty much used me wherever they could. And so I was very busy, very hopping around. And so I was able to apply a lot of that knowledge that I had learned at all these previous roles, right? And then about a whole new process. And so that was exciting, especially considering that particular facility was the only division in the Americas. All their other factories were in Taiwan or other places. And so when they came to the Baytown location from Taiwan, some of the other engineers, we were able to, get a lot of teamwork going to make things better in that way. And of course, there were some language and culture barriers that, you have when that happens. But to me, it just added to the experience. And then from there, I kind of made a decision for my personal life that I didn't necessarily want to be on site all the time and on call and all that stuff, right? So now I work for Arms and Consulting, and I've been working a lot more on the implementation side. There again of strategies and optimization of those reliability technologies and things that I learned from previous roles.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you kind of got thrown into the deep end, and then over time, you kind of, it sounds like you just weaved yourself into this reliability space, and it sounds like it's become a strong passion of yours over the last few years.
Yeah, I would say so. Because to me, what I learned through all the different transitions and meeting all the different people and working in all the different, manufacturing types is that at the end of the day, like reliability is about the people and is about keeping the people safe and not having equipment surprises that could lead to, injuries or fatalities, and working together as a team across maintenance and even between maintenance and operation and all that. I mean, the interworkings are incredibly detailed, but when they're working smoothly, it's a beautiful thing to see.
Could you share with all of our listeners the different ways that they could connect with you and learn from you on your journey through maintenance and reliability?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn if you want to just look up Anna Goodman. I'm probably the only one on there with brightly colored hair. I have bright orange hair in my profile photo. And if that's not accessible to you or you don't have a profile, my email address is agoodman@armsreliability.com. I'd be more than willing to have any kind of, conversations or answer any questions or concerns in regards to reliability and maintenance, or maybe even how my company could help you out if you're in need. So.